Hello and welcome to Hardin and Associates Consulting's Brown Bag Training Session on the basics of cross-connection control. I'm Travis Caval. I've been a water professional for 20 years, specializing in cross-connection control for about the last 15. I hold a B distribution license, collections 3 license, my backflow tester's license, customer service inspections license, and an irrigator's license. I'm here today with my colleague Danny Perales.
Hello, everyone. My name is Daniel Perales. I have over 30 years experience in water, BPAT license, a customer service inspector's license, and my irrigator's license. I'm currently working with Hardin and Associates as a water quality inspector.
So these are a couple of things we're going to go over today, and Danny will get us started with an introduction to cross-connection control.
Cross-connection control. Let's get into that real quick. First, we need to understand what backflow is. We define the backflow as an undesirable reverse of flow in the water system from its normal distribution. Once water enters the service line into a facility piping, it must become a one-way street and flow from the utilities distribution into the home or building and throughout its private water system. Water seeks the paths of least resistance. High pressure goes into low pressure. Now, what is a cross connection? These are actual or potential connections between the drinking water lines and potential sources of pollutants and contaminants out in the private distribution system. This is why TCEQ requires water purveyors to start a cross-connection control program. What will we cover today? Key terms used in cross-connection control. What do they mean? The current state of water infrastructure in Texas and nationwide. Challenges faced in rural and rapidly growing areas. Recent cross-connection control incidents. We'll also cover how to run an effective cross-connection control program. We'll go over water ordinances, customer service inspections, backflow testing, lead service line inventory, some data management software, staff training. We'll also cover communicate and education of constituents and customers.
The state of Texas was recently given a D+ grade by the American Society of Civil Engineers as it pertains to our infrastructure. And what that leads to is billions of gallons of water loss. And when we have those water loss events or leaks, we end up with frequent boil water notices. It really puts a strain on a already aging infrastructure. So you see here in 2021, when we had our big winter storm here in Texas, boil water notices really spiked. And what's concerning there is that in 2022, we didn't see the fall off that we'd like to see. And that means that our infrastructure is aging and has been taxed over time. And so that big weather event really added to that strain. And every time we have a boil water notice, we have those incidents that Danny was talking about earlier, where we have back siphonage into our potable water system, and contaminants and pollutants can get into our drinking water. And here are some really stark numbers from the CDC on waterborne illnesses. Every year we have 7.2 million waterborne illnesses reported. 6,000 deaths are attributed to waterborne illnesses every year. And all of that adds up to a $2.4 billion in annual cost to the U.S. economy.
Challenges in the rural of Texas. Rural Texas faces water infrastructure challenges. One is older infrastructure, limited resources, and population growth.
So we're going to get into some specific water incidents that we've had, mostly in Texas. Before we get to that, though, we'd like to share a little levity with you with a back siphonage incident that happened in Italy.
Households in northern Italy saw their water turn to wine.
A malfunction at a local winery sent 1,000 liters of wine through the water pipes of about 20 homes last week. It flowed from faucets and shower heads. for a few hours. Luckily, the wine was ready to be bottled, so government officials say there was really no health risk to the residents. So many of those folks are quarantined, so sort of a little bonus for them.
It's a little lucky right there, yeah. Households in northern
And so we're all able to have a good laugh there. Wine coming through the water taps seems fun enough. But you can see how quickly that a pollutant or contaminant can get into our public water supply and through the distribution system. In 2020, here in Texas, we had several residents, including a young boy, who contracted an amoebic infection. That happened here in Texas, and so the TCEQ responded to that event. And because of the nature of the event, it garnered national media attention. So we had another advisory here in March 2019, and you can imagine being the water purveyor here who had to tell their residents not only to boil their water, but had to actually issue a do not use order. And so residents weren't only not able to use water for cooking or had to boil their water, but they had to use bottled water for all uses. Another incident in March 2019, we had customers reporting skin and eye irritation after using tap water. The TCEQ did investigate that incident, and once again, that received media coverage. And then a really scary incident in February 2021, where we had high concentrations of an industrial pollutant, namely the carcinogenic compound benzene, discovered in the city's water supply. And so the scary thing there is that we have serious health risks that we know about, but we don't know all the long-term effects from that chemical compound. We do know it's carcinogenic. And so that's a scary thought for those folks that were exposed to that long-term.
How to run an effective cross-connection control program. Let's talk about this one a little bit. There's 5 things we need to look at. We need to look at the water ordinance. I think every utility company or water purveyor needs to adopt a water ordinance and have it adopted by the city. This helps with the enforcement process to having customers install and test the backflow preventers on an annual basis. The service agreement. What are the service agreements? The service agreements just helps with the enforcement part. It gives us access into the customer's private distribution system for us to be able to enforce the installation of backflow prevention assemblies and have them tested on an annual basis. Second, we need to look at field operations. We need to conduct customer service inspections. This will identify potential or actual cross connections needing backflow assemblies out in the private distribution system. When I say private distribution system, it's talking about the customer side or inside the properties where the customers are using water for cooking, cleaning, or whatever it is that they're doing inside the property, followed by having them installed and tested on an annual basis. Also need to conduct the lead service inventory. This consists of inspecting and identifying lead out in the distribution system. Data management software that helps keep track of backflow prevention assemblies. It tracks the serial numbers, testing frequency, information on the backflow prevention assembly, customer service inspections, and letter notices. Staff training is also very important. It keeps up to date with the constant changing of rules and regulations and staff's water and wastewater licenses. One of the most important parts of running an effective cross-connection control program is educating our customers and to protecting our public drinking water supply by identifying and eliminating all the cross connections.
All right, now we're going to get into Hardin and Associates Consulting and what we can do as it pertains to these cross-connection control programs. So we specialize in cross-connection control, and we do that through engineering and environmental consulting. that would be that ordinance review piece that we talked about, making sure that you have the proper ordinances to match your needs as a water purveyor. Also, inspection services. Those are the things that Danny talked about earlier. Your customer service inspections, your lead service line inventories that we all have coming due in October, and also fog inspections, fats, oils, and grease. Those grease trap inspections, we can provide those for you as well. Training services, we offer a full suite of water and wastewater classes for your water and wastewater operators. And so guys needing new licenses or getting CEUs, we can take care of them on the water side and on the wastewater side. And then obviously specializing in cross-connection control, we provide classes for backflow prevention assembly testers and for customer service inspectors. We also provide confined space training. So look us up for those things. For the environmental management software, that data management that we were getting at, and this also goes into the educating your customers. We do offer a total program management, meaning that one, we can offer you just software where your people can take care of running that software and managing their data on the backflow and cross connection side. We also offer total program management where we can take that off your plate and we can do your mailings and your notifications. We can keep track of all your assemblies, when they're due, your testers, their gauge calibrations, and their license information. Make sure you have licensed good testers in town doing good backflow testing on an annual basis, and also customer service inspectors the same. And we can do that whole in-house. If you have any other questions for us, we'd love you to hang out and ask them after the presentation. And then also we'd ask you to visit hactexas.com for more information. Thank you. Hey guys, it's good to see you all. If you will ask any questions in your LinkedIn comment box, we will get to all that we can.
Thank you, Travis and Danny. We have a question that came in here. The question is, if a builder's plumbing inspectors are handling CSIs in-house, how does the water purveyor ensure that they're getting adequate CSI reports to satisfy state requirements? And I'll also ask that you go over again what a CSI is and why it is necessary.
Yeah, Danny, if you don't mind, I'll take this one.
Sure.
So customer service inspection is a TCEQ mandated inspection before we supply continuous water to a property. And so they can build using temporary water, but before we supply continuous water, meaning like we transfer from the builder to the homeowner, or we transfer from the contractor to the business, we need that customer service inspection. And that's an inspection of the private plumbing system for cross connections and for lead. We'll handle that after all fixtures have been installed and we're about ready to take possession of that property as far as the homeowner or the business owner. And so if the question was if the builder or the plumber does their own CSI. And so an important thing to remember here is a plumber with a WSPS can do a CSI, but should not inspect their own work. And so they can get a CSI from another plumber with a WSPS or from a customer service inspector. Also, some municipalities handle those CSIs in-house with their plumbing inspectors. And what's important to remember there is just that we have the right reports filled out. That is allowed for. But I have seen in some municipalities where we just do like a checkbox saying, hey, a CSI was done. And I would say that definitely depends on your TCEQ inspector at audit time, and that the safe way to handle that would be to make sure a customer service inspection report, the TCEQ form, is filled out on every water service.
And there's one more thing to that. The reports do need to be kept for 10 years by the utility company in case for record keeping purposes. And they do need to be conducted every 10 years. You need to keep them from 10 years. And after the 10th year anniversary, you need to conduct another customer service inspection.
Thank you. That's very, very helpful. Another question that came across the transom here, and Danny, maybe you can help us with this one, is why are water wells and resacas a cross-connection hazard?
Water wells and resacas, they are a hazard because you're bringing on auxiliary water onto the property. A lot of the times what happens is customers add those pumps to water their yards and stuff like that. And what happens is now you're creating a potential or an actual cross connection in there. So when that happens on the property, the utility company must protect the public drinking water supply by adding a backflow prevention assembly at the service connection, followed by conducting a customer service inspections to make sure that those two sources of water are not interconnected.
Got it. Thank you so much. All right. Another question that we have here is what is an LSL inventory and why does a water purveyor have to do it?
So your lead service line inventory is being mandated right now by the TCEQ. It's due October 16th. And what we're doing there is we're seeing both from the public side, the water main to the meter, and on the private side, what our service lines are made out of. And if they're lead, then they're being marked over time for replacement. And that really comes from a federal mandate from a few years ago. And there's still some political process taking place there. But the lead service line inventory, we do need to know what all of our service lines in town are made of, or city or water purveyor or water company are made of by October 16th for the TCEQ. And have that reported on their, they have a specific form they'd like us to use there too.
Got it. Thank you so much. Another question that came across here is, what is the biggest hurdle that you've encountered while conducting a CSI, and how did you overcome that obstacle? And that could go for both of you.
Travis, you want to take the first?
Sure, I'll go first. So for me, it's always just been access. I've had a few government facilities with restricted access, and the TCEQ does allow a little grace there and will allow you to do containment in some of those places. The other thing, and maybe a little more comedic, is I was at a restaurant once and they had a line running up the wall that was drilled through the roof, and just a water hose was going through that. And they didn't have a key for the access to the roof. So we knew we had water going up there, but we didn't have any access to it. And really, we just had to schedule that and come back at a different time. Turned out to be not much at all, just a washout area they use to get leaves and things off the roof. But access has generally been my biggest hurdle as it comes to CSIs. And to mitigate those problems, you really just want to communicate with your customers as the water purveyor to let them know, hey, this customer service inspection is coming, and they do have to have access everywhere you use water.
Our biggest hurdle down in the valley has always been the outside water faucets. They tend to become fused And when the customers don't remove them, it's hard to take that water hose connection off and install those hose bib vacuum breakers. What we've been doing is having to put a wrench on it and hit it and try to take the diffused hose from the hose bib to install the hose bib vacuum breaker on, or help the customer install it. That's been the biggest hurdle. We've kept working with that, and what we've ended up doing is having the customer hire a plumber or somebody to remove that hose bib connection and install a new faucet on there. And then we do a follow-up inspection. That's what takes a lot of the time. You go once, twice, maybe 3 times to conduct the service inspection till it gets done.
Thank you, Danny and Travis. Question that came across here is a CSI mandatory?
Yes. So in Texas, a CSI is mandatory before any continuous water connection from a water purveyor.
We need to understand what a customer service inspection is. It's inspection of the private distribution system. When we say private, that's inside the property. What ultimately a CSI inspection is identifying potential or actual cross connections inside the private distribution system to protect the public drinking water and the customers from any contaminants or pollutions from getting into the drinking water supply. That's basically what a customer service inspection is, and it is mandatory.
Very good. Another question came across here. How do you conduct a CSI for a homeowner that has lived in a home for over a decade that has never been inspected?
Yeah, so I would say that once again, that communication from the water purveyor to their customer is going to be paramount in this case, because CSI is the whole property. A customer service inspection covers the whole property. So everywhere we use water in that property, that means, bathrooms, kitchens, the outside of the property, the inside of the property. It's pretty invasive as an inspection. And so we need to make sure we let those customers know that we're coming and that they're prepared for us. But that's also why it's key to get that customer service inspection done before we supply continuous water service to a customer, because you can see that getting that CSI done, as we're building a home, as we're finishing, we have our fixtures in. If we get our CSI done at that point, it's much easier on our customers than going in 10 years later to try to make up for records we don't have.
Got it. Thank you so much. And got one more question here. What is a fog inspection and why is it necessary?
Yeah, I can take this one. So a fog inspection that we're talking about here would be a fats, oil, and grease inspection. And we do those at the grease trap. And what those do, it's a little different than what we've been talking about here with the CSIs. That is to protect our wastewater system from fats, oils, and grease. And so what we do there is we inspect those grease traps for a total percentage of solids to make sure that the grease traps are working, they're getting pumped on a regular basis, and that we just have good wastewater ending up in our sewer systems instead of blockages from fats, oils, and grease.
Very good. Thank you so much. I don't see any more questions coming across. We'll give it another 20, 30 seconds to see if anybody else has any questions. You can type them in your LinkedIn chat box there on the right, the comment section, and hopefully we'll get 1 or 2 more questions.
I do want to take this time here just to thank all you guys for coming to this today. It's been a pleasure. Always love working with Danny. It's been really pleasant.
I want to thank everybody who signed in and joined in and asked the questions. We're always here, Hardin Associates, to answer any of the questions that you might have. You can reach out to us at Hardin Associates, and we'll be glad to help you with anything that you might need with water, wastewater, fog, training. We're always here for everybody.
Thank you very much, Danny and Travis. And that will conclude the brown bag presentation on cross connection control. Thanks, everybody. Have a great day.